Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, I'm going to be making another style arc pattern, and this is one of my favorite patterns that I've ever made to date, and that is the Ethel pants. So I double checked before I started this video, and I have made this pant 4 times in the past. So this is going to be my 5th time making it, and I thought it was about time I made a video on it. I know I've said in previous videos that I make a lot of pants and I don't need any more pants. But I did just spend 2 months putting my online course together and I worked really hard on it, so I figured I would just let myself have this one. Which reminds me, I have launched an online course called Learn to Sew for Complete Beginners, which is exactly what it sounds like. So in the course I teach everything that I know about sewing that allows me to create the garments and all of the projects that you see on my channel here. So we cover everything from how to thread and use a sewing machine, how to select fabric for your projects and prepare it for sewing, how to read and understand sewing patterns, and at the end of the course you even get to make your own project, which is a simple tote bag. So it's a really good beginner project to introduce you to some of the basic techniques of sewing. And right now you can enroll in the course for 50% off of the full price with the code EARLYBIRD50. So I will link that down in the description box below in case you're interested. Okay, shameless plug is over, let's get back to the pants. So you might be wondering why I have chosen to make this pattern so many times. And I think I just really love the shape and fit of these pants in particular. They have a very voluminous, curved leg to them, which I for some reason just find really comfortable for me to wear, both physically but also just how I look in them. I feel like they're really flattering on my body shape in particular, and it's just kind of a shape and style that I'm starting to gravitate more towards in my wardrobe. They really give me a very Monica Cordera vibe, and if I had to choose one brand which would probably be my epitome of aspirational style, it would probably be that brand. So I think that's just why I love them so much. Also, this pattern is very easy, they're very quick for me to whip up, and I think it would be a great pattern for beginners as well, as it teaches you some really good techniques like how to do pleats, how to do an inseam pocket, and how to do an elastic waistband. And I've also made some adjustments to the pattern since the first time I've made these, so I think I've got it exactly how I want it now, and so we'll get into those when we start the video and I'll show you exactly what I've done and how I've kind of tweaked it to make it perfect for me. But first things first, for fabric I'm going to be using this linen organic cotton solid in the color Natural, and this is from Earth Indigo Fabric. Yeah, I'd say it's quite a lightweight woven, and it's a really nice light neutral color. I've made these pants in, let's see, gray linen, dark brown linen, a blue lightweight denim, and a tan cotton. So yeah, I thought that a nice kind of light neutral color would sort of round out my collection and complete it. But let's be honest, I'll probably make them in black as well. And then I'm done, I swear. So I think that's everything. We can go ahead and get started, and I'm going to start by showing you the alterations that I've made to the pattern. Let's go! So a couple of things that I have done to this pattern to kind of tailor it to me are, number one, I have sized down from a UK 12, which is what the size chart put me at, to a UK 10. And that just gave me a much better fit for me. It's a little bit less voluminous in the leg and still, fits over my hips and fits my waist comfortably. So that was the first alteration. Another one was to lengthen the pants by 4 centimeters. So I'm quite tall, I'm 5'9". And the previous time I made these pants, they were just a little bit too short for me, so I wanted to just add a little bit of length there. Another thing that I have done on the bottom of the pant leg is just kind of straighten out this curve. So if you can see the lines here where they used to go, they would kind of go out like this and then back out again. So there was quite a pronounced curve at the bottom of the leg here, which in my opinion looked a little bit funny on the completed garment. I'll show some images of the before and after, but it kind of would just kind of flare out at the bottom a little bit, which I wasn't a huge fan of. So what I did is I just took a ruler and kind of straightened that line out, cut in a little bit deeper here, and just added the hem again. So yeah, that just really straightens out that kind of concave curve that was at the bottom of the pants, makes it a little bit more so it just comes down nicely instead of kind of flaring out at the bottom. And that does mean that it's a little bit tighter around the calf area, or kind of ankle shin area, but there's still more than enough room for my leg with that alteration. And finally, on the front of the pants, I've also shifted the pleats over towards the side of the leg, so towards the pocket and the outside towards the hip as opposed to towards the crotch, because the original pleats are kind of more inwards. And I found that when I was wearing the pants, the pleats would kind of move like inwards towards the leg and kind of pleat like down the inside of my leg and on the side of my knee, as opposed to straight down the front of the pant. So I've kind of centered the pleats a little bit more, and I think that just kind of fixed that issue on my body anyway. And the last thing that I always do on these pants, and I think I've done it from the first time that I made them, is to actually add a drawstring to the waistband. So I'll show you how that's done when we get to it, but basically I'm just going to cut a long strip of fabric, which I can fold and stitch into a drawstring, and then I'll just make 2 buttonholes at the front center of my waistband, which I'll use to thread the drawstring through. So that's just one kind of addition that I think adds a nice little detail to these pants, and yeah, just kind of customizes them and makes them more my style. So that is all of the alterations, so let's go ahead and cut these out. So I've gone ahead and laid out my pre-washed fabric, and I'm just going to cut out all of my pieces. I need 1 pair of each pant leg, 1 piece for the waistband, 2 pairs of pockets, and then 1 long strip for the drawstring. And for the drawstring, I usually just cut a straight piece that is approximately 2 times my waist circumference long and 4 centimeters wide. Then I'm starting by making the 2 pleats on the front legs of the pants, and these are folded towards the outer edge of the pant leg. And instead of basting these, I actually like to just use a regular stitch length within the seam allowance, because I find it just holds on to them better. I have a lot of steps before I get to the waistband where these actually get stitched down, and long basting stitches sometimes come loose during the process. The next step is the pockets, and I learned how to do inseam pockets from a tutorial on fabricstore.com, and since then I've just always used the same method, so I'll link it in the description below. But basically what I do is serge around the edge of each pocket piece individually to finish it, and then attach them to the front and back pant legs with right sides together, matching the notches. Once they're stitched in place, I also serge down the side of each pant leg to finish that as well. And then I'll press the pocket outwards and understitch the seam allowance on the front pieces only so that the pocket won't roll outwards. Then I pin the front and back leg pieces together and stitch down from the top, around the pocket, and then down the leg. So this makes sure that all the seams are finished, and then I'll usually just press the seam allowance on the side leg open, and then when I get to the pockets, press the seam there to the front because that's the direction that I want the pockets to go in. Once the pockets and side seams are done, I stitch down the inseam of each pant leg and finish that seam together, and then do the same for the crotch seam, putting one pant leg inside the other with the right sides together. When pinning the crotch seam, I always start where the 2 inseams meet so that I get those lined up, and then I pin upwards toward the waistband on both sides, making sure to match the notches. And I also always press the inseam toward the back of the leg and the crotch seam towards the left side of the pants. So now the pants are mostly assembled and I just have to attach the waistband. So I'm starting by pressing my waistband in half with wrong sides together, and then pressing the long edges up by my seam allowance of 1 centimeter. Before attaching the waistband to the pants, I will stitch it with right sides together along the short edges so that it's in one loop, and then pin it to the top of the pants with right sides together and stitch at the seam allowance or along the crease that I pressed up on the waistband. Next, I'm making my drawstring, so I'm just taking the long piece that I cut and pressing it in half, then pressing each of the long edges up to meet the center fold. And I also tuck in the ends so that they're nice and neat, and then I can top stitch around the whole thing to create my drawstring. Then I'm going to make the buttonholes on the center front of the waistband, which is where I will thread the drawstring through. So I'm just using my measuring tape to make sure they're about 1 inch from the center front and about 2 inches from one another. And then I just use the buttonhole foot and setting on my machine to create each of the buttonholes. Before I can thread through the drawstring and elastic, I need to close the waistband casing. So I'm just folding it toward the inside of the pants so that the edge of the waistband just covers the stitching line that I had done previously. And then I'm pinning it from the right side so that I can stitch in the ditch and enclose the waistband. But I'm leaving about a 3 to 4 inch gap open at the back of the pants so that I can use that to insert my elastic. I'm using a bodkin to pull the drawstring through the waistband using the buttonholes, making sure it doesn't get twisted along the way at all, and then I'll use the bodkin again to thread my elastic through, starting at the gap in the back. When I'm threading elastic, I always like to cut the front part so that the edges aren't as sharp, and I just find this helps to feed it through the casing a bit easier as it doesn't catch on things as much. Once the elastic is all pulled through, I pin it together and then try on the pants to make sure I have the right fit. And once it's comfortable, I stitch the elastic together using the zigzag stitch on my machine so that it's able to stretch. Then I just have to cut off the excess ends of the elastic and close the gap in the waistband. And I use the same method for this as before, where I pin from the right side and stitch in the ditch, except this time I just have to kind of stretch the waistband out a little bit now that it has the elastic in it. The last step is to hem the pant legs, so I'm just pressing up the hem twice, using the notches on the side seams as a guide, and then I'm stitching those in place close to the edge. So with that last step, the pants are all done. I really love the extra detail that the drawstring adds to these pants. I just feel like they wouldn't be quite the same without it. And here's how they look on. I'm really happy with how the fit of these turned out, especially when I compare them to the first time that I made them. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like it and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more like this in the future. Thanks for watching!